lovies. Welcome to another edition of A Little Perspective. This is the self-care edition. Last year, we did a panel of professionals for one day of self-care where we were able to have the audience ask questions, and we were able to talk about the different areas of self-care. Self-care is so much more than eating and what you're eating and exercise. It is your entire life. If you are not able to pour into the different parts of your life, then you will not have whole wellness. So this month I am kicking off self-care month with Dr. Jackie McShane. I don't know why I do that, McShane, and Jenny Gates. They are two of my absolute best friends, my business besties, my mastermind ladies. They have pushed me to grow more and more every single day. And I'm thrilled that they have agreed to join us today. Dr. Jackie McShane is a doctor of pharmacy turned certified health, life, and weight loss coach. Today, she will be talking with us about time blocking and how to manage your time. Time blocking is such a foundational element for self-care. If you're not able to manage your time effectively and efficiently, then you will not be able to juggle all the things that you need to do to really maximize your self-care. Miss Jenny Gates is a certified financial planner, and she is finishing up her master's degree, which but she is working hard at that, and she is here to talk to us about financial planning and retirement. If you do not plan for your future, then it doesn't matter how much self-care and self-love you have right now. When you get to a certain stage, you're going to be a little bit feeling rough. So I'm so excited to have both of them with us. I'm going to allow them each to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about themselves, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty about how you can apply these two things to your day-to-day life in order to maximize your self-care. So Dr. Jackie McShane, I know you hate it when I call you that, so I'm doing it on purpose. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a doctor of pharmacy. Thankfully, I have kind of been able to step away from that. So in March of 2018, I took a little bit of a pivot before pivoting was popular, right? In 2020, everyone pivoted, but I did it a little early in 2018 so that I could really start focusing on something that had been introduced to me and I've become really passionate about, and that's coaching in all areas of life. And although I think that pharmacy was where I was meant to be, and I learned so much there, and it definitely has served me well. It kind of had lost my passion for it, and I felt like I was dispensing medications to treat side effects of other medications that could probably have been prevented. Like the need for them could have been prevented had these people just been taking care of themselves. And that's really frustrating. And so it's a lot more fulfilling to help people prevent the need for medications or to reduce or eliminate medications and start really taking care of themselves. And the reason you might be thinking, well, how does this person like know about time blocking? And I don't have some special certification in time blocking, right? I didn't go to school to learn how to time block, but I went through a period in my life where I had to figure out what to do because I was working night shift as a pharmacist. And then I'd also found this thing that I was really passionate for, and I had to figure out how to fit it all into my day. And so that's when time blocking really became something that I became very proficient at. And then I pursued it even further to teach other people to do it, because one of the first obstacles I get when I talk to people about you need to take better care of yourself, you need to eat better and make sure you're taking care of yourself and practicing self-care, they're like, I don't have time. So I figured if I could help them find the time to take care of themselves, it was a win-win. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this. And then I have a 16-year-old son who plays lacrosse. And I love to ski and travel, and I love helping people. So that is me.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Jackie has been a game changer for me in so many ways. She's coached me through health. She's coached me through sobriety, but she's also been the key to helping me manage my time, being a single mom of 3, entrepreneur. At one time, I was working full time at the same time. Time blocking has been a game changer. So I'm thrilled to have her here to help spread the word and share her knowledge about time blocking. Miss Jenny Gates, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, I'm Jenny Gates. I'm a certified financial planner. Um, Something that's when I was growing up, my dad was a financial planner, and he took a lot of opportunities throughout everyday interactions to explain to us the importance of money, not in a setting where we worshiped money, but we pick and choose what's important to us. Just like time blocking, Jackie's taught me that we make time for the things that are important to us and we prioritize our time. And I think a lot of people are letting external factors decide what's important to them, especially when it comes to spending money. And one of the things that I'm passionate about is being intentional with the way that we spend our money and also teaching my kids that, right? So I'm trying to be more intentional with the words I use. I don't ever tell my kids we can't afford that. I tell them we've decided that we're not going to spend our money on that. We're going to spend our money on this. And one of the things that I'm also very passionate about, again, because of my upbringing, is that my husband and I prioritize setting aside money today because we don't want to work full time for our entire lives. And so that's what I'm really excited to take a few minutes to talk to y'all about is, saving for retirement, prioritizing yourself, paying yourself first. I know those are cliches that we hear about a lot, but especially in y'all's situation, Angela and Jackie, y'all are entrepreneurs, you're self-employed. It's so much harder to prioritize that when it's all on you to do it yourself. So I'm excited to be able to set this time to journey this with y'all.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm so excited to hear. We could all use a little help with financial tips and tricks. And I love Jenny's style because she's very realistic. You know, you read these things, put away 20% of your paycheck or what have you. And that's just not always possible. And Jenny is very realistic in her approaches to being able to help people reach their financial goals and invest in themselves. So, all right, Miss Jackie, what is self-care to you, and how do you regularly practice self-care?
I think that self-care can look different for everyone, right? I feel like self-care is anything that makes you feel rested and restored once you've done it. And so for someone like Jenny, that's running 1,000,000 miles and in the dark on a mountain. I might have used to been that person. That's not me anymore. For some people it's a massage, but it doesn't have to be something that costs money either. It might be walking around the block, reading a good book, calling a friend that makes you laugh. Self-care can really look for different people. It can also change throughout your life. So like things that I used to really enjoy for downtime and self-care, that has changed during different seasons of my life. And so how I personally practice it is, for number one, I make sure I get enough sleep. There were so many years where I was either working night shift as a pharmacist, or I did lose a daughter to cancer several years ago. And during that 3-year battle, that was a sleepless 3 years. And so now I know that I need to protect my sleep if I want to show up as the best version of myself. So I prioritize sleep. I make sure I have a morning routine so that I'm setting my intention for the day. And again, that might not sound like self-care, but if I don't do that, I'm not showing up. Like I'm making everybody else's emergencies my emergencies instead of doing what I need to do for me to show up for you in the best way. And that's one way I care for myself. Fueling my body right, moving my body in a healthy way most days. And I may not necessarily have downtime every day for self-care, but I always know that there's something coming on my calendar that is scheduled downtime. And also having plans. Like I said, when I introduced myself, I said I love to travel. That's another way for self-care for me. Like it gives me something to look forward to. I know I'm working hard right now because I have that thing coming up. That's kind of my reward for working hard. And that to me is kind of a form of self-care too.
Would it be totally weird if I asked Jackie a self-care question?
No, go for it.
That'd be weird. So one of the things that's really big to me is like setting an example for my kids. And when I make that the priority, I'm better at taking care of myself. So I know that you have a teenage boy. How can you set that example of self-care up for our kids?
Well, I think you are setting it up for, like, setting the example.
Yeah,
I
like
think
like
you
my self-care to myself looks very different than to my 10-year-old.
are, so you're saying, how do you show your children the importance of
Yes,
self-care? I think it's a
exactly.
conversation, because a 10-year-old doesn't need to practice self-care. Like, their
Not true.
world is self-care, right? Like, they're taken care of. They are not financially responsible for anything. They might have a chore or two. They have a gorgeous dog that wakes them up every day, right? Like, hello, Murray, every morning. Um, a 10-year-old doesn't need to do self-care. This is my opinion, obviously not an expert here, but I feel like their whole world is self-care. So that conversation that you're having with them about why mommy gets up early to do yoga and to run, and why mommy, has this time set aside and is doing this, it's so that so mommy can be her best self to be a good mom for you. And then you're setting the example there, so that when they do get to a certain age, they can see, oh, this is, now I get why this was important, and now I need to start and implementing this in my life.
I love that.
I have an answer for that. So, my being a single mom, being an entrepreneur, working, I don't, even though I set my own hours, I have to work around my client schedule and stuff. So that means some evenings and stuff like that. And the kids have a pretty hefty chore list, and so, but we have, I give them Sundays to have no chores, to have complete freedom if they get their chores done. And so, and I get to communicate with them how that works. So you get your stuff done on Saturday, and then on Sunday you can relax and have your self-care. So that's, it is a little different, because they do have a lot more, self-care than adults do. But their self-care is iPad time. Like, we try to keep the screen time limited. And so iPad time is their their idea of self-care. So, Jenny, why don't you tell us what self care means to you and what that looks like for you? How do you practice self care?
Um, my favorite self-care is running. Just in December, I did a 36-mile run in the Appalachian Mountains. It was just gorgeous and horrifying and painful and all those wonderful things. But what I found through the process of training was that, I felt guilty setting aside this time, because the training was on Saturdays. It was often a 7 or an 8 hour training session. And I felt guilty about taking that time away from my family and whatnot. But I found that it made a huge difference to my anxiety level. It felt like with every mile that I was running, a little bit more of the weight was coming off of me. And when I was able to do that with a girlfriend of mine, it made it even that much more profound. And we would vent, and we would go for hours where we wouldn't talk, because we were, in an altered dimension of pain and hurt. Um, but it made a biggest difference to when I was present. And it made me that much more grateful for the time that I did spend with the kids, and the time that I was doing laundry, and the time that I was doing dishes. It changed my entire perspective of going from a place of resentfulness, right? Whereas, ugh, freaking housework again, to it is my pleasure to do this for you because of what you have given to me. And also enjoy yoga. And again, it's kind of to lower the voices in my head of, you got to do laundry, you got to do dishes, you got all of this stuff building up. It's nice to take a few minutes to um, calm the voices. And sometimes the me time is spending time with the kids outside of the house, outside of the chores. We love to go to Target, and we love to go to Hobby Lobby, and just spend quality time together.
Are you passing down your love for Office Depot to your kids?
To Rebecca, absolutely. Absolutely. Rebecca loves the pens and the markers, and she loves all of that. Timothy, he bought a fart gun yesterday, which he didn't get that from me. It's not a, it's not something I've instilled in him. He is so excited about the fart gun.
That doesn't surprise me at all. That's fantastic. Oh, wonderful. It's so neat how different, like Jackie said, self-care looks different for everybody. You just have to be intentional about it. So Jackie, tell us, what is time blocking? That is not something that is quite a household name or word yet. So how would you describe time blocking to someone who has no idea what it is?
I think that time blocking is taking all of your tasks and responsibilities and putting them in a selected spot in the time that you have in your day, so that you can basically know that, okay, these are all of the things that I am responsible for, all of the things I need and want to do. And instead of having that like constant chatter in your brain, like that reel of to-dos, that's like constantly going, like Jenny just kind of mentioned, like it's just always there. Once you put it in your calendar and it's there, you can kind of erase it from your brain, because you know that it's there. Like you've put it there. When the time comes, that's what you're going to do during that time. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that are really resistant to scheduling their time because it feels like constraint, right? It feels like, wait, there's no spontaneity if I schedule everything. But I would argue that it actually creates more freedom, because you are freeing up all that mental space and energy to actually enjoy your downtime and to actually enjoy spontaneity, because you know that you've got the to-dos done.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And I was one of those people where it felt very intimidating, because if I say I'm going to do something at this time, then I have to commit to that. And that can sound hard, and it is at first, but the amount of freedom that it gives you, because then you don't have to worry about it. You don't forget things, and you're beating yourself up forgetting them and all that kind of stuff. So, tell us how you think that fits into self-care, and how someone could get started with time blocking.
So the reason that I think it fits into self-care is just like Jenny said, something that I say a lot is like, we prioritize the things that we think are important, right? Whether it's with our money, with our calories for the day, or with our time. And so when I'm working with someone on time blocking, I actually have them put their downtime and their self-care in first. And for a lot of people, that surprises them, because they're like, but I have all of these other things to do. And I said, I know, but if you don't take care of yourself, you're probably not going to do those other things. And the other reason for that, the other reason that I think it's self-care is, like I said a minute ago, is that when you can take it out of your brain and free up that mental space and energy, you then can really be more present in the moment, right? Whether that's with your family, with your friends, with yourself, and that downtime, you aren't doing the spinning. Like Jenny said, it lowers your anxiety level. And so that's why I think that time blocking is part of self-care. Was there a second part of that question? Because I don't remember.
What do you think the hardest part, this wasn't the second part, but I'm going to ask you this now. What do you think the hardest part of getting started is?
Just getting started, right? I mean, literally, right? Like sitting down and just doing it. Because if it's something that you're not used to doing, it can feel very overwhelming. Like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. You get this to-do list that ends up being like 3 pages long, and you start to freak out because you're like, there are only 24 hours in a day. I don't even know where to start. But it's really, so number one, it's just getting started. And number two, it's accepting the fact that this is not solidified, right? Like this is going to be a living thing that has to be course corrected as you go through different seasons, whether kids are in school or they're being homeschooled, or it's summer, or you change jobs or whatever. Like it's always going to be something that has to be like continuously updated. But it's like once, and you can probably both attest to this, like once you start doing it and you kind of get into a rhythm of it, it's second nature. And you honestly think, how did I ever live without doing this? But the hardest part of time blocking itself is the follow through. Honestly, sitting down, writing a to-do list, and then like transferring those things from the to-do list to your calendar, pretty straightforward, really, pretty simple. But I guarantee you on Tuesday at 2 p.m., when it's time to do the thing on your calendar, you're going to be like, I'd rather watch Netflix. I'd rather eat ice cream. I should really give the dog a bath because I don't want to do the thing like you'll come up with all of the things that you'd rather be doing at 2 o'clock on Tuesday than the thing that's actually on your calendar. So sticking to the calendar, following through, that's the hardest part. And that's mind management, right? That's not time management. That is mind management. And that's where coaching comes in, because people come to me and they're like, okay, I just don't know where to get started. I have all these things. I'm so busy. How do I do this time blocking thing that's going to solve all my problems? And so when we start to really evaluate, okay, how are you using your time now? When they get super honest with themselves, they're like, yeah, I probably spent 30 minutes scrolling Facebook when I should have been cleaning toilets. Then I got behind on housework, and then I was stressed, and then I was yelling at my husband. Like it snowballs, and you don't realize where you're wasting time until you start really evaluating how you're using your time. And that can be really eye-opening. So that's a great place to start, actually. It's like, look at your day now, look at yesterday, and be super honest with yourself. How did you spend every minute of yesterday?
Being honest with yourself is probably one of the harder things too, but so key, because if you're not honest with yourself, if you're not honest with that being on TikTok for an hour when you were just going to do a couple of videos, then you're not going to be able to really be realistic with how you're managing it. Tell us about the myth of multitasking. This is something that you shared with me some time ago, and it was kind of eye-opening, really eye-opening, kind of mind-blowing, because you always hear that that's like such a it used to be something we put on our resumes, like ability to multitask, and but apparently it's not that great.
No, because if you're trying to do two things that really should require your focus and intention and energy, and you're doing them both at the same time, your brain really can't do that. You're really not capable of it. I know you want to think you are, but what's really happening is your brain is switching tasks. It's going over here, and then it's going over here. It's going over here. And so in between, as it has to kind of catch up to that task, you're wasting time going between. So if you just said, okay, I'm going to spend 15 minutes on this task and I'm solely going to focus on this, you'll be surprised at how much faster and how much better you do that task than if you're trying to do two things at once. Now, the exception to that multitasking rule is I will often listen to a podcast while I do dishes or while I'm folding laundry. I will drive and listen to an audiobook, right? Like I call that no additional time. Like it's things that you can do that you want to do. Maybe you need to do them, but folding laundry is pretty mindless. And if I fold it one way for one shirt and the next, like I'm not that OCD, so I'm okay with that. But I'm still being able to get the training that I was trying to listen to, or the podcast, right? Because podcasts can be part of self-care too. Like if you're listening to things that fill you up and inspire you. So I feel like that's the exception to multitasking. But when you are really trying to create something, especially like for entrepreneurs, if we're trying to create content or marketing or something, you cannot do two things at one time. Your brain is truly incapable of it.
Yeah, I agree completely. And even like the whole like squirrel thing where, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to work on my marketing. And then I get in there, and then I went to my email to grab something, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to clean up my email box a little bit while I'm here. And so you've jumped track. And then when you go back to marketing, you have to jump track again. Whereas if you just hold tight and go and stick to the marketing, then you can really focus in on it. So that's been a big game changer for me from that multitasking lesson that you gave me. So you have a course on time blocking. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I do have a course on time blocking, but I actually have a free place for you to get my time blocking info. So you can find me on Facebook, Forge Health Coaching. That's my page. And then within that page, you can join the Forge Health community. And in the Forge Health community, every month we focus on a different topic. And we actually started with time management. And so if you go in there and join that group, you can go back and find all of the time management information. Everything is in units. It's easily labeled. You can go in and watch the training, the workshop that I did on time management, and then you can ask me questions in there. So that is what I would do if you are interested in, like, where do I start with this? And then I do offer a special coaching package just for time management, because what happens, like what Ange just said about, you get the distraction, like, oh, I'm going to do marketing, but oh, wait, that wasn't my email. And then you see all the emails and like, it's the squirrel thing. That's where the coaching comes in, because you've got to start managing your mind. Like, why am I doing this? How do I stop doing this? And it feels impossible. And so sometimes you need a impartial person to help you identify what's going on and how to overcome that, and how to like actually follow through with your calendar the way that you did it. And then you can find me on my website as well, which is forgehealth.me. And there you can actually sign up for a free mini session with me for coaching.
Excellent. Excellent. So we'll put all that info in the comments so that it can be easily accessed. I mean, just if you're at all interested in managing your time, joining that group is going to be well worth your time to look at that stuff. And like Jackie said, everything's mindset, everything is. And, you know, this is no different. And so just because you have the instructions on how to do it doesn't mean that you'll be able to easily implement it. And so if you find yourself struggling, it's not you, it's not a personality flaw, it's not anything crazy. It's just that you have to learn how to think differently, and having a coach can very much help with that. So thank you, Jackie.
Can I add one more quick thing that I forgot that I think is super important about self-care? Jenny's saying, no, I'm running into her. Jenny, this is for you. Listen to the words I'm about to say. No, I'm just kidding. Another reason putting your downtime in your calendar first, your self-care, your downtime, whatever you want to call it, is because think about all the time that you, like, you're 3 shows in, right, to Netflix, and the whole time you're watching that show, like, you're enjoying the show, but in the back of your mind, you're like, I should be mopping the floor. I should be writing that script. I should be paying bills. I should be doing all of it. Like, you're sitting there, you're feeling like shame and guilt, right? And you're disappointed in yourself, but you can't stop watching the show. When you have scheduled downtime, you actually just get to enjoy the downtime, because if it's on your calendar, you know that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing with that hour, 2 hours, whatever it is for you. There's nothing else that you have to be doing, just that. And you can let go of all of that, like, ruminating, right, on what I should be doing. So it feels so much better than the guilty downtime that we take that's unplanned.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I want to jump in right there, Jackie, because I've done one of your trainings, your time blocking training, and I really experienced that, and it was almost like a celebratory moment when I'm doing homework. I'm working on my master's program. I'm doing homework, and all the other things I'm not worried about, because they have a time, they have a place in my calendar, and I can. It's incredibly freeing to time block.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with me. It makes me feel good that it helped you.
It is a game changer. And, you know, they're part of life coaching is learning how to close the feelings loop and learning how to process your feelings. And with processing your feelings, you have to allow yourself to relax and to kind of shut off that fight or flight. And if you're relaxing but you're not really relaxing because you're just worried about stuff, then you're not doing any good. Jenny's cat has joined us. We have been waiting for this moment. And she's right on time because it's Jenny's turn.
She will not miss a cameo.
So awesome.
Oh, it's so good. All right, Jenny. Tell us a little bit about, you know, financial health, and, you know, why is that a part of self-care?
Well, it's so perfect, especially when it comes to time blocking and going into some of the things that Jackie's already mentioned. You know, Jackie taught me a long time ago, if you're setting up a goal to start a nutrition plan or to be healthier, you know, a lot of people, it's common for us to say, you know, I'm going to eat right, I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep, I'm going to work out 3 hours a day. And then on, you know, February the 1st, everything didn't work out exactly how you had planned. And so you toss in the towel on everything. Well, we do the same thing when it comes to financial planning, especially if it's our responsibility to do all of it on our own. If we're an entrepreneur or we're self-employed, you know, when you think about, I've got to save for retirement, probably a million things come into your head at once. I have to decide how much money I need to save. I have to start doing it today. I have to find where I'm going to put it. I have to decide on which investment vehicles I'm going to use. And it's extremely overwhelming and extremely daunting. And it's so much easier to just say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll worry about that next year. I'll worry about that when all of my other financial situation is golden, and then I'll plan for retirement. And it's just not functional. It's just like health. It's like learning to run a marathon. You know, if you're gonna run a marathon this year, you don't walk outside and run 26.2 miles. You pace yourself. So if you're having to do it on your own, maybe your goal for 2021 is to say, I'm going to live without 1% of my income this year. I'm going to put aside 1% of my income, and I'm not going to touch it for a whole year. And that's a heck of a start. Then in 2022, I'm going to live without 2% of my income, and I'm going to talk to somebody about a good place to put it. And then by the time you're in your 60s, you've got a good base. So I recommend everybody go to SSA, that's Social Security Administration, ssa.gov, and look at your personal, ask you for your Social Security and whatnot, and it tells you approximately what your benefit will be when you start receiving income and what your full retirement age will be. I think mine is 66 and 3 months. Now, your Social Security benefits are based off of your 10 highest earning years. So you won't know exactly what it'll be if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 40s. Hopefully your best years are ahead of you. But it'll give you a basic, right? A lot of people can expect to get $22,000 to $25,000 a year in Social Security. Can you live like you want to on $25,000 a year? Like, I've got lots of plans for retirement, and I want to travel, and I want to continue to give to charity. I want to continue to give to my church. I can't do any of that on $25,000 a year. I can't. It's daunting to try to take on saving for retirement on your own, but it's too important to leave it to anybody else. And the only reason that I can preach on this, I really sound like really preachy, because I deal with this personally, right? I don't make all the best financial decisions. And so I only point one finger at you about the things that I have 3 fingers pointing back at me, because I have more pens than I need. And I don't always make the best financial choices. But I'm better today than I was last year. It's all about a process.
I think that is the first time I have ever heard you say you have more pens than you need.
And the last.
I think those are all excellent points, and I look back and I'm like, oh, if I would have started when I was, because I'm 39 now, if I would have started when I was, 25, blah, 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 and looking at the SSA, it's not pretty, because I do want to I don't want to be struggling at, retirement. I want to enjoy retirement. So for those who may not really even know, like, what does a retirement plan, what is that even, what is it? What does that mean?
Well, the biggest factor is saving some of your income today for tomorrow. And that's the biggest thing. What we tell our clients all the time, a lot of people get into the details of, should I buy this stock? Should I buy that stock? Should I be an all growth portfolio or all value portfolio? It's just not as important as you think it is. The important thing is saving today for tomorrow. And then talk to everybody, just like everybody's time blocking looks different, and just like everybody's me time is different, everybody's financial situation is completely different. Talk to somebody you trust and get their opinion about whether or not you should save in a traditional IRA, whether or not you should save in a Roth IRA. I tell people, if this is your first year putting money away and you don't have an emergency fund, I mean, a lot of people kind of have this knee jerk reaction when I say this, but you kind of need to be able to access that money for an emergency. So a traditional or Roth IRA might not be best for you right out the gate. That's something that we should work up to. And then, just don't overthink it. Yeah, if I started at tomorrow, if I decided, I'm going to save 20% of my income, that would hurt. And a month later, I would toss it all up and say, you know what, I did my best. So start small, just don't try to run 26.2 miles right out the gate.
What does a traditional emergency fund look like? Because I think that is an excellent start. And, I think a lot of people last year felt the hurt of not having that, found themselves unemployed or laid off or furloughed or what have you unexpectedly, and didn't have the emergency funds to be able to carry them through. And we quickly found out that we can't always rely on the government to pick us up when we need it. So how does one start an emergency fund? What does that look like?
I love Dave Ramsey. He gives a lot of financial advice. And one of the things that he recommends is 3 to 6 months of your income based on how many different sources of income you have. So if you're a husband and wife living together and you both have one full-time job and maybe one of you has a part-time job, 3 months might be fine because you're well diversified in your income sources. If you're a single mom with one job, 6 months would be a better idea, a better safety net. But again, I mean, I know I hate to sound like a broken record, but it really is, it's personal. Everybody's individual. But and for me, it's more of an anxiety level than anything else. It's how much you can sleep at night, knowing if you're a single mom and you've got 3 people depending on you, 6 months would be it would help me sleep at night.
Yeah, it makes a difference, and especially imagining yourself in that kind of a situation where you would need it. You talked at the beginning, you gave some kind of background on how you were raised and how your parents addressed finances with you as a kid, and a little bit on how you talk to the kids about finances. How do you recommend people who have never really talked to their kids about finances, or is there an ideal way to kind of get started with that, or do you have any references that you could recommend?
That's my favorite question ever, Angela. It's my favorite thing. So I love, so I was in a book club for a long time with these amazing women. And one of the books that we read was You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. And she talks about having this positive mindset when it comes to money, especially when it's with your children. I don't want my kids to associate money with stress. I don't want them to think, oh, talking about money makes mom a basket case, right? And I don't want them to have any emotional attachment to money. It's easy for us to put money on a pedestal and make it a god when it's not. It's an extension of ourselves. And so that's what I try to tell my kids, think about what's important to you. And unfortunately, everything that's important to me needs money. I love my church. I think that they do a lot of amazing things in the community. They need money to do all of the things that they do in the community. So it is my joy, and we tell the kids, we don't tell the kids how much we spend, how much we give to the church, because then that's going to come up at like a weird teacher conversation. So we tell the kids that it is our joy to give some money to the church, even if that means less pens that mommy can buy. And we tell the kids, at one point, my children decided that we needed an RV. There's a cat. At one point, our children decided that we needed an RV. And I said, well, we could buy an RV. It would give us less time to do the other things that we'd like, less money to do the other things that we like going out to dinner. And then I explained, mommy doesn't like to clean up after you as much as you think mommy likes to clean up after you. So these conversations that with money, that like, it's not that we can't afford that, it is that our priorities lie elsewhere, and we like to have quality time. And for me, that means less cleaning up the RV, But whenever one of the things I remember when I was a teenager and I knew everything and my parents knew nothing, they were complete idiots. We were shopping for a house. And, all the houses pretty much looked the same, but we went to one house that was just huge and it was gorgeous. And I knew that if I lived in this house, all of my problems would be solved and I would be one of the popular girls. And I looked at my parents and I said, we can afford this house? And my parents said, well, first off, no, we can't. You're broke. You have no money. And I needed that humility check. And then they said, yes, we can afford this house. But if we buy this house, then we're not going to go on family vacations every year. And we're not going to be able to go to the movies every Friday. So there's a trade-off. And I remember that even being in high school and knowing that my parents were complete idiots and I knew much more than they did, I kept that with me. And I remembered that when me and my husband were shopping for houses. We didn't go to the bank and say, what is the absolute, my dad is walking past my window now as we speak. You never know. He knows I was talking about him. You never know what you say now is going to plant seeds for later. And you're talking to a 10-year-old and you're thinking that it's going right over her head. It might be. But she might remember that whenever she's 30 and you're walking down past her window.
I love the Jen Sincero recommendation. That book club sounds like killer too. Like that sounded like a really great group of ladies.
Those women are legit.
I bet they're amazing.
They have amazing hair, most importantly.
Yeah, but that book really is good, and it has it's helped me to to fix my blocks from my childhood, but also to, like you said, to be more mindful of the ways that I'm communicating with the kids, which can be hard because when you really can't afford something, it's easier to say that because then you don't have to discuss it. You don't hear the nagging. You can't really argue. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. But
sometimes we don't want to feel all those emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a great recommendation. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how someone could reach out to you if they had some more questions about retirement or whatever it is financially.
So I'm so grateful that I work on a team where I'm able to specifically focus on what I enjoy the most, and that's putting together a financial plan. And that's talking about, the bare bones of it, what you can give up today, what you can comfortably give up today, and what that's going to mean from you 20 years down the road. And what I like most about my job is that you and I can sit down and have this conversation face to face or on a Zoom without any obligation on your part, and we'll get through all the planning part before we ever discuss fees or commitment or any of that thing. That's just not as important as what's best for you. And sometimes we have a great I work for a company that has a great online platform, And sometimes that's the best bet for people to go on and save up money on themselves without putting a lot of it into fees.
Excellent, excellent. And I love that you offer consultation, or whatever you want to call it. You have given me so much information just in conversation and talking about things that I've been able to apply and do better. I don't look at my pens. I don't have a
That
pen.
was the very first thing I noticed. And we know it was.
It's Jenny's fault. It's my financial planner's fault that I have a pen addiction.
But it's okay if it's built into the financial plan. Like when you have a pen budget, it makes it okay, right?
That's right. And it's even better if the budget is written with an erasable pen. Look at that.
So that you can increase the budget when necessary, easily.
Written in the planner that I use to plan my time and manage my time efficiently. See, it's all connected.
Look, I have this. I have to show you this. This is shameful. This is how I time block. This is my erasable collection. All of these are erasable. And there are highlighters. It's the best. This is how you time block.
Love it.
All right, ladies. Is there anything that you want to add before we wrap up? Did we forget anything?
I just thank you. Like, this is so much fun. I'm glad that we did this as a group. Thank you for asking me to participate. And I love you both.
Yes, I'm so grateful for you for putting all this together, Angela. You're just so amazing and you're fearless and you're such an inspiration.
Well, thank you. Next year it'll be in person and it'll be even better. I'm not bitter at all about that, but it's okay. This was next best thing for sure. Thank you, ladies, for being my first group interview on two different main topics, one central theme, but two different topics. So it was nice having you guys as my security blanket to do this, to test this out. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and your wealth of wisdom with everyone. I really appreciate it. So everybody's info will be in the comments. So if you have any questions or want to chat with either one of these lovely ladies, feel free to reach out. Definitely join Jackie's group. Like she said, it's a different topic every month. So even if time blocking, you feel like you got your time management down pat, believe me, there's going to be other stuff that she can help you with. Thank you all for watching, and I love all of you. Have an amazing day.